All right, so tonight we're going to talk everything story problems. And please don't copy down every word that you see on the screen. I will tell you which words to copy down, but my goal for the night is that you'll walk away with some basic guidelines that will help you as you try to weed your way through story problems. If you just follow these guidelines, I think you'll find they definitely apply. So the first thing I do want you to write is that, we're talking about story problem vocabulary. So the words we're going to write down on this in your notes have to do with addition first. Okay. What are the key words for addition? And what I will do is I will just, I don't want you to try to write all the sentences out. You notice that there's an example for every one of these. Please don't do that. So here's keywords that have to do with addition. If they ask you for the sum of something, oh great, my pen's doing this thing again. Just a second, hang on. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. See if it kicks back in here. So anyway, if they ask you for the sum of something, they're asking you to add up. The word plus, is kind of a basic word. If you took this plus that, what does it equal? So sum plus the word together. Okay. If you want to add that to your notes for addition words, together and or all together. You can add that here as I have here, all together. How many would you have all together? If they just spell it out and say added to, that's like a gift, or hey, that's adding. Okay. So that phrase added. Total, I would put a star by in your notes. What are the total amount of inches if you had three different fractions? If they ask you for the total, especially this week in your homework and everything, that's probably a clue that it's addition. Okay, so total, the sum, plus, together. So those are addition words to watch out for. Now, a couple of other tips I've kind of listed up here in yellow. The first tip that I always teach students is if there are numbers in a story problem, if you can write them on your paper, you can just write them on your paper, okay? Sometimes that alone is enough to jar your mind to go, oh, I think I know what I'm supposed to do here. So tip number one is to take the numbers in the story problem and physically just putting them on your paper oftentimes helps simplify, okay, what am I doing here? Another tip is to read the whole question because realistically, this leads to another tip. You want to look for the keywords in the last sentence very often. I'll let you write that down. Keywords in the last sentence with the question mark, okay? So whatever that last sentence is of the story problem that has one of these, okay, then look for the keywords there that go with that question mark. That is a big clue to look for, because sometimes you might have four sentences and you're going, well, which one is telling me what to do? It's the last sentence that has the question mark. That's the one that is asking you to do something. Okay. So those are just a couple of addition words and a couple of general tips that I found can be kind of helpful. Now in your notes, go ahead and just write subtraction. And again, we're not going to write down all these sentences we're just going to write down the keywords, okay? Um, so subtraction, the big words to watch for are the words difference. What's the difference in height between Jane and her mother? Okay, difference always means subtract, okay? And then, you know, if they just spelled it out and said minus, if you take that minus her grocery bill, how much is left? Well, that probably means you're subtracting, and they just spelled it out for you. Or take the phrase take away. If you take away such and such from how much money Walter has in his wallet, what's left? Okay. By the way, I want you to add this to your notes. This word right here is a big one, okay? How much is left? When you see the word left, okay, that is put a star by that one here. That's a very common subtraction keyword. How much is left? So, and then sometimes, you know, how much, they'll say how much fewer than is that, which is, you know, like less than. So less than or greater than, you probably could add those two phrases to your notes. Less than or greater than. How much less than is, you know, how much less did Kathy have to pay than Karina? You'd subtract, okay. Decreased, you know, if they, you know, how much did they decrease? That means minus. That's a subtraction clue right there, okay. So if I was telling you, okay, well, what, Tim, that's a lot of words. How am I going to remember them all? Can you give me the top three? Yeah, left. Put a star by that one here. Difference. Put a star by that one right there. Okay. And then more than or less than would be, those are like the top three. How much more than or less than is something. So with that word left, okay, real subtraction clue. Okay. All right. Let me just read one of the examples here. If I was, it says, what is the difference between how many students prefer to study in the day and those who prefer to study at night? There are 10 students who want to study in the day and 4 who want to study at night. So you would take 10 minus 4. There should be a 4 here. Okay. 10 minus 4, and you would, it's 6. All right. So that's the difference. All right, a couple of multiplication words, okay? So go ahead in your notes, write down, kind of label this maybe different colors, you know, multiplication, just like I have modeled on the screen here. And a couple of words that are very often indicate that you're multiplying is the product. What is the product of this or that? Okay. Fact. Next one I want you to write down is the word of. If you had 2/3 of the 70 pieces, how many you have? Of in the sentence with a question mark means times, okay? Like my example over here, if you had 50 people in class and 2/3 of them passed, they ask how many of them passed, okay? How many of the people passed? That word of is a clue. So I would take 50 over 1 times 2/3, and that would tell me how many, what 2/3 of 50 is, okay? And then not so often, but sometimes you'll run into, it might even say times or double or triple. If you triple the amount of flour, how much flour do you have? If you have a recipe question, okay? If you double the amount of flour, how much do you have? You're just timesing it times 2. So if it recipe called for 2.5 cups of flour, you're just going to write 2.5 times 2, just like you do a normal fraction problem, and then figure it out that way. Okay. All right. Finally, not a whole lot of word. Well, I guess we have some here for division. Okay, keywords for division. So the first one I might write down is just the word average here. Okay, average is definitely, if they ask you for their average, they're asking you to add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are to find the average. Okay. If they ask for the quotient, which doesn't happen very often, but quotient means divide. That's quotient is a phrase related to doing division. Divided by, or how many are there per student? If you had 60 pieces of candy and each kid gets 2.5 pieces, how many would be given per student? You see that per student or per whatever, it means you're going to divide, So out of sometimes means division ratio. We'll get into this more next quarter and the quarter after that, what a ratio is. But cut up, if they say, if you cut up this or you separated it, or you split, or if they cut it, if they said half, or parts of things, those are words that relate to division. Now, if you're going to, hey, teacher, what's kind of like the most important three that I should probably try to remember here? Okay, I would say average. Okay, divided or cut up or separated. So average, divided, cut up, separated. Those are kind of the top ones here that we're going to go through here in a moment here, okay? All right, now what we're going to do just for the remaining whole time here is we're just going to go through a number of story problems. And I think for your own stress level, you might want to just watch and listen. And then I'll send you this slideshow, and then you can kind of see my writing on it and review it. But I'm afraid that if you spend all your time trying to write down all these story problems, you would get stressed out and then you would stop listening. And it's best, my goal is just to have you listen through how I process several story problems, okay? All right, these are called around the house fractions, okay? There's 3/8 of a pizza in one box. So, I'm just going to put a little line here so it's a little bit clearer. 3/8 of a pizza in one box and 1/4 of a pizza in another box. How much do you have altogether? Now, here's what I want you to notice. Remember I told you, go to the last sentence that has the question mark. Look for the keywords in that sentence. Here it is right there next to the question mark, all together. That was one of our key words for adding, okay? So what we're going to do is, okay, we're adding. We just figured that out. So we're going to go 3/8, okay, which hopefully by now we're starting to learn how to do these fractions, plus 1/4, okay? And if I just kind of did it real fast here to model it for you, okay? So I need a common denominator, and they both go nicely and cleanly into 8. So anyway, that's what I would do. And then 4 goes into 8 2 times, so this becomes 2/8. 8 goes into 8 once, so this is 3. Now I have the same denominator. I can add them all up. I'll put the answer over here. So it's 8, 3 plus that is 5. So here's my answer. I have 5/8 inches of pizza if I wanted to write it out all correctly as an answer. That would be my correct answer. Okay. Let's look at the next one here. A pitcher, sounds like a water pitcher, contains 2 3/4 pints of orange juice. Boy, that sounds good right now. After you pour 5/8, this should be 5/8, okay? 5 of a pint into a glass. How much is left in the pitcher? okay? And again, this is perfect example of what I'm talking about. Go to the last sentence that has the question mark. There's the question mark. Look for the keyword in that last sentence and bingo, there it is, left. And we learned that left is like the most common subtraction keyword, okay? Now, you might have asked, okay, how do I know which number to put on top? You've got 2 3/4 pints of juice. After you pour 5/8 of a pint in the glass, how much is left? Put your big number on top, 2 3/4 pints, right? Like I did here, 5/8 pints there, subtract, okay? So that's how we would do that. So you've got a chance there just to listen to how I process through that. Another one. Jackie has 1/3 of a Hershey bar, okay? Stephen has 1/5 of a Hershey bar. So they got their own Hershey bars, and that's how much is left. How much do they have all together? All right. Again, the question mark's here, and the key word that's right before it is together. Okay, it's asking how much is there together. So I'm just going to go 1/3 plus 1/5. And that will tell me how much they have together. Keyword right there, together, means add. Next question. A dime is 1/2 inches wide. If you put 5 dimes end to end, how long would they be from beginning to end? Okay. All right. This one here is not as simply, okay, where's that key word in the question mark? Okay. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through. You got one of these dime. Okay, a dime, one is 1/2 inches wide. Okay. That seems awful wide to me, actually. All right, 1/2 inch. That's how much one of them is. If you put 5 dimes end to end, so if I multiply that 1/2 times 5, okay, then how long will they be from beginning to end? That's how I'll find out what the answer is the 1/2 inch that one of them takes, and then it says I've got 5 of them. So take the half of one that one of them gives me, multiply it by 5 because you got 5 dimes, and that's going to give me how much they are from beginning to end if you lined up all these dimes here. And I try to avoid showing off my artistic skills, but there they are. There's my 5 dimes. Okay. All right. Keep going. Just a second. A serving size for the granola that Ted likes to eat for breakfast is 3/4 of a cup. Okay. So that's how much he likes to eat for breakfast. He likes 3/4 of a cup. Okay. How many servings are there in a box that holds 15? Okay. This is a division problem, just to tell you flat out. You got a box, okay? This is your box of cereal here, and it holds 15 cups. Okay, there's your 15, and they want to know how many 3/4 size servings can you get into or out of this box. And so if you divide 15 by 3/4. And remember, when you do division, that means you'll multiply it by the reciprocal of the second number, which means you will write 15 over 1 times the reverse, which would be 4 over 3, and then solve it from there. Okay. And this one here is not as I'm just kind of thinking out loud with you. Where's that simple keyword here in the last sentence? And this one here just is one of those ones you have to just kind of think about what they're asking. He likes to eat this much every breakfast. How many servings if there are 15 cups? You're going to have to divide that into that, okay? All right. For this next one, it's about building like a house, okay? So I'm going to show you the question, and then we'll go back to the the sketch. Mr. and Mrs. Vargas are wanting to purchase a new home. They have been shown the diagram for the home shown above, which is on the previous slide. They would like to know the length and width of the house. What is the length and the width of the home? All right. So I'm going to go back here. And so how would we figure out the length and the width of the home here? Okay. It would be nice if they just gave you a dimension that went straight across. By the way, just looking at this picture here, see these arrows like this? It has 16.5 feet. That's the little foot symbol. Those two arrows mean from here to here, okay? And you see how you got these lines here, and it says 3 5/8 feet, okay? So that means from here to here is 3 5/8 feet. And then you got these arrows here, and they point to this line, which means that distance is 22 1/8 feet, okay? So to find out the length, okay, if I kind of wrote this over here in the margin here, the length is, the how far it is across, okay? It just wants to know the length and the width. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add these numbers because I notice that if you look at this all the way across, that does cover the whole length of the house, okay? There's no gaps. So I would take 16.5 plus 3 5/8 plus 22 1/8. Okay, that's going to give me the length of this house. I'm going to have to add up all those numbers. In fact, I can add the whole numbers first and then figure out my LCD between 8, 5, and 2. And let's see, 20. It's not 20. It's 40, I think. 40 is the lowest number they all go to. But anyway, so we're going to add all the numbers across, and that gives me the length. Now, the width is the distance from here all the way to here on the house, okay? From top to bottom. That's the width. Well, I happen to look at this diagram, and I happen to notice that it gives me the distance from here to here. Okay, you see the arrows right here, okay? 8 2/3 feet from here to here, okay? So if I went 8 2/3, and then it also gives me the distance from here to the rest of the house, this width. So I'm going to take this 14 1/8, I'm sorry, 1/6, and I'm just going to add them up. And that is going to give me the width. Okay. All I did was look at the distance they gave me from here to here. And I looked around. I said, did they give me the rest of this distance anywhere? Oh, here it is. So I'm going to add those together and get the length and the width. Okay. So that's how I would find the length and the width. And that's what the question asks. It just wants to know what is the length and the width of the home. So you would just put those two answers. Now, the next question says the Vargases, okay, would like a house that has a minimum of 1,000 square feet. Does the house meet their criteria? Show your work. Okay. So if I kind of like drew you a little picture, if you wanted to find out, let me choose a color that stands out a little bit here. If you had a house like this, okay, and let's say it was 4 feet this way, that's a real small house, okay, and 6 feet this way, okay, in length. 4 feet wide, 6 feet long, okay? And they want to know the square feet of the whole house, okay? To find square foot of a rectangle or a square, you multiply the length times the width, okay? So if I just put down length times width. Yep. All right, so 4 times 6 is 24 square feet, okay? That is the dimension of this square feet of this small little house here. So likewise, to figure out the total footage, square footage of this house, if I take my answer of my length and my answer of my width and multiply those two times each other, I'm going to get a number. And I'm going to look back at the question that asked me, they wanted a 1,000 square foot house. Does this house meet their criteria? Which basically means once I multiply the length times the width, I look at the answer and go, is that 1,000 square feet or more? If it is, then you'd say yes. If it's not, if it's smaller, then you'd say no. Okay. All right, we're going to go to the kitchen here. Okay, maybe for some people this is a lot simpler. Just thinking about some just things in the kitchen. Okay. Your mother has requested some of your cookies, but she only wants half the number of cookies the recipe makes. If we cut the recipe in half, cut in half. What is the amount of sugar we will need? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this. This is an oatmeal and chocolate chip recipe. It calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, but she's trying to cut it in half. So here's what you would do. Okay, just you take the amount of sugar that the recipe calls for, which is 1.5 cups of sugar, and you just times it times 1/2. Okay, and that will cut that in half by multiplying it by a half. So that's how you would do that: is to cut something in half, you multiply it by a half. Okay. Likewise, you were donating several Planters of cookies for the annual PTA fundraiser. You're going to need to triple the recipe to have enough cookies to fill all your platters. What is the amount of flour you're going to need? Triple, we learned, was kind of a keyword for times. You're tripling it, something times 3. So they want to know how much flour basically I would need. So if I look at my flour, okay, here's my flour. This is how much the recipe calls for flour. I'm going to take 2.5 cups of flour. Hopefully you've guessed it by now. Times, we're tripling it. So 3, just put 3 over 1, just make it easier for you to visualize how to continue from there. Okay. So when you're tripling something, you're multiplying it by 3. Doubling it, you're multiplying it by 2. Cutting something in half, you're multiplying by 1/2. All right. All right, so this has to do with distances and times and feet and inches. It's a chart. Let's look at the question and kind of go back to a couple of them. Jerry goes for a jog and covers a distance of 1.5 miles in 1/2 hour. What is the distance in feet? Okay. Well, he goes 1.5 miles. Okay. If I look at my chart over here, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Okay. So it wants to know one of these, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Okay. He jogged, what does it say? He did 1.5 miles in that half hour. So he did this much. Okay. So if I take my 1.5 and multiply it by 5,280, which is how many feet are there in each mile, that will give me the answer in feet. Okay. Because it asks, what is the distance in feet? So again, we're just looking at the chart to convert feet to miles there. Okay. Susan swims a race in 33 and 1/6 seconds. Patty swims the race in 29 and 3/4 seconds. How much faster was Susan than Patty? Okay, here's the question mark, and it's got the word faster, and faster is like greater than or less than. That's a subtraction word, okay? How much faster was this, or how much less was something than that, or so we're just gonna subtract. Always put your bigger number on top. 33 and 1/6 minus 29 and 3/4. If I subtract those, I will get a difference between those two, and that will tell me how much faster that Susan was. Susan than Patty. So anyway, Susan swims a race in 33 and 1/6 seconds. Patty swims a race in 29. Yeah, it seems to me that Patty's faster. How much faster was Susan than Patty? I think the question's got it backwards. It should say Patty. Sorry, guys. Because Patty here, see how she swims it in 29 and 3/4 seconds? That's less than Susan. So it should say Susan. How much faster was Patty than Susan? Yeah. So that's a typo there, okay? So I'm gonna just kind of really cross this out, because it's clear to me that Patty's the faster swimmer, okay? Her time is less, which means she's quicker. All right. So we would still do the subtraction, and that would tell us the difference in their speeds. All right. Shopping fractions, going to the mall, okay? When was the last time I went to a mall? Can't remember. Jonas needs to purchase 3 1/2 pounds of potatoes, 2 1/2 pounds of carrots, and 1 1/6 pounds of beef for a stew she is making for dinner. What is the total weight of this purchase? Here's my question mark. Here's my keyword. Total is an addition thing. So I'm just going to take my 3 fractions that they gave me of the various kinds of potatoes, carrots, and beef. I just want to know the total weight. So I'm just going to add them all up, and that will give me my answer. Okay. So again, the key thing I'm hoping that you're getting here is we're watching for that last sentence to see if it does give a really helpful keyword. And you've noticed by now that sometimes it's not so clear. Okay. All right. Handy dandy supermarket products and prices. How much did it cost Jonas to purchase 3 1/2 pounds of potatoes? Well, if potatoes are 66 cents a pound, and Jonas did 3 1/2 of them pounds, if I multiply the amount that he bought times the price per pound, 66 cents, okay? In this case, I just put it over 100 because we haven't got the decimals yet. So it's like 66 over. If you look at this 66, the 6 is in the 100th place. So as a fraction, it's 66 over 100. Okay, that's why I did that. So we just took the amount he bought in potatoes and multiplied it by how much it is per pound. And that gave us the answer. Oh, we're done. Let me stop the recording.